Hello and welcome to the United Stand. We are back live again 2 hours later from the Alexis Sanchez and Mkhitaryan deals are finally officially being done. I'm joined by DT. I'm sure many of you will know him from Arsenal Fan TV. Lots and lots of Twitter interaction over the last few days. Really grateful to have him on. I've got a question straight away. I'm just going to fly into it. The one thing that has really surprised me is obviously we took Van Persie a few years ago and what a signing that was. Many people, and maybe yourself, would have thought this will never happen again. I want to get your thoughts on that. But I think from an outsiding point of view, how has this happened? I mean, how is Ozil and Sanchez in that situation? Are Arsenal powerless because they wouldn't sign, or is it just laziness from the board and the manager?
It's the board and the manager's fault why they're in this predicament. I do believe that we are going through a new era at Arsenal at the moment with the people that we've appointed behind the scenes, but it's too late to address the situation that we found ourselves in with the likes of Alexis and the likes of Ozil and Jack Wilshere. We can still get ourselves out of the mess, but Alexis, it was just too far gone. And the only people that you can blame for that are Arsene Wenger, because when Alexis signed, as Arsenal fans, we all sat there and said, right, this is it. We've got over the initial period of the stadium build. This is where we now start signing world-class players. We just brought Mesut Ozil. We just brought Alexis Sanchez. He was a player that we had been missing since Thierry Henry, one that gets you off your seat, one that excites you. And we thought, this is a new dawn. Ivan Gazidis is coming out and saying that by 2015, around that, we're going to be competing with the likes of Bayern Munich. And as fans, you're excited. When you've gone through some of the stuff that we had to go through, you sit there and think, oh, this could be it. This is the time. The old Arsenal's coming back again. Maybe Arsene Wenger's got the fire in his belly again. But it hasn't materialised. And if anything, we've gone backwards. And the first season with Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal, the best way of summing this up is that we won the FA Cup. Now, after that, Alexis done an interview and he said, it's great. I've won the FA Cup, first ever season at Arsenal. I'm really happy about that. But I want to move on to bigger things now. I want to win the big trophies, the Premier League, the Champions League. And then Arsenal, instead of using words like that and building on winning the FA Cup, went and brought Petr Cech. That was it in the whole entire window. We needed a goalkeeper. We bought Petr Cech and we went, right, here we go. Come on, lads. Let's get the, go and get that world-class striker. Go and buy another centre-back and we're ready to go. Let's do it. And we sat there on our hands all summer and bought nobody. And from that moment on, I think Alexis looked at it and went, nah. Because if we would have built that summer, had a really good second season, may not have had to win the league, but, maybe say we finished runners-up and, really pushed for the title and got to the latter stages of the Champions League, then Alexis would have looked at that after his 2-year period and gone, you know what, we're going places. All right, let's sit down. We'll talk over a new contract. And he signs. But they've left it and they've left it. And in the end, he's held all the power. He's got all the aces up his sleeve, shall we say. But yeah, we've got no one else to blame but ourselves. And the people that suffer the most are us as fans. We're the ones that suffer, not Arsene Wenger. He'll sleep at night. He won't care. And yeah, just like I said, we've got a lot going on behind the scenes that's really positive at the moment, but too little too late.
It's interesting you said that, because I want to talk about the rivalry between United and Arsenal in a few minutes' time. But the only way I can sort of relate to it is we've sort of been saying to some Arsenal fans, and I'm sure you wouldn't have thought it was realistic, about Anthony Martial going to Arsenal, and I would have said the same thing. I'd have said you've got no chance he won't leave. And if he did, I try and flip it around. If Martial did go to Arsenal, I would be gutted. I think he's a fantastic player. He's exactly the sort of player you want at United. Alexis Sanchez, leaving for Manchester United. Now, obviously, I saw your interaction with Troops when he had that picture outside the hairdressers the other day. Personally, I would have been like you. I would have been like, regardless of you being United or Arsenal, great. It's not easy to see a player like that go. And I know you've had your say about him, but I don't watch him week in, week out like you, and I know that a lot of people will, you know, we think he's a top class player. I thought he was a top class player when he was going to City. But what's your real thoughts about Sanchez? I mean, we look at him, we see him when we play against him. He does get frustrated. My interpretation would be that that's because he's frustrated with the situation at Arsenal. He wants to be a winner. He said, you know, some people would say cynically, well, he's just saying the right things by saying he couldn't turn down playing for Mourinho. He's always wanted to play for Manchester United since he was a boy. You can be cynical and say that's the right thing to say, but fairness, Mkhitaryan said the same thing about Arsenal. What are your thoughts about Sanchez now? I mean, it must be horrible to lose your best player, but it's happened. It's over.
Cheers for that. Do you know what? The thing is, until I've supported the guy all the way through. I've supported him up until the moment I knew he was leaving, and I've been very angry with the way that he's conducted himself, because I think it's disrespectful. I think that, you know, you look at, for example, Mesut Ozil, and you've got Alexis Sanchez, both in the same situation. Mesut Ozil's kept his head down. People will say that he's got a better PR team. But what I will say is that Mesut Ozil's also been producing on the pitch. Mesut Ozil's got his head down, not just off it, but on it. And he's actually producing the best performances of his career at Arsenal. Whereas Alexis, he hasn't put his head down on the pitch. He's just sulked. And it looks so evident for everyone that's watching from the outside in. Even us as fans, it's got to a point during the course of this season where we're like...
He's had a very quiet season, hasn't he, to be fair?
You know what? We look at it, and Arsene Wenger gambled with Chile reaching the World Cup, because it's a World Cup year. He would have been playing. He would have wanted to go to the World Cup on top form and everything else. And then Chile go and end up not qualifying. So, you know, that kind of backfired. But the fact is that we were trying to get rid of him in the summer window on the final day. And if we could have got Lamar over the line, then Alexis Sanchez would have been a Man City player for the last 3-4 months. So we don't know, you know, how his season would have been. But for the last 6 months or so, he's not the Alexis that, you know, I loved and, you know, excited me and stuff like that. He just looked petulant. He just looked uninterested. And again, like I said about the whole Arsene Wenger situation, the people that suffer are the fans. You know, the people that sing the man's name, the people that travel up and down the country, or, you know, even don't travel to games, but, you know, worship the guy, spend all their money getting merchandise with Alexis on the shirts and all this kind of stuff. I feel that a lot of players in this modern era kind of lose sight of the real people that basically make them, which are the fans. And it's all well and good. You know, it's all well and good coming out now. He's gone, you know, putting statements up on Instagram and saying that, you know, he loved it and, you know, he had to go, but he wants to thank the fans because they made him feel so special whenever he sung his name. And sorry, but you weren't showing that kind of loyalty and love towards us as fans for the last 4, 5, 6 months. If Alexis would have worked his arse off these last few months and really put everything into it instead of looking like he just couldn't be bothered to be there, then the majority of us, although hurt, would have sent him on his way. And, you know, as it's transpired with him going to Manchester United, it's just kind of added insult to injury. And there's a lot of bitterness towards him right now. This is the thing that a lot of people might not get. And where I go to all the games, I can let you in on some things that you lot won't see on the television and stuff like that. But I've seen a lot of animosity towards Alexis from the stands over the past couple of months. I've seen a lot of people losing patience with him in the stands, people booing him. I can go back to Crystal Palace only a few weeks ago, not the recent one, the one we won 3-2 at Selhurst Park. And people were going mad at Alexis at one point. Fuck off, get this fucking, you know, out of our club, blah. And then he scores. You know, and it's just kind of, but I've seen all that, what's going on. And then I've got my thoughts on the whole Manchester United signing. I've not denied to anybody that Manchester United are the biggest club in England, but are they the best club in England? No, they're not. I look at Manchester United and Arsenal since Sir Alex Ferguson left, and there's no separating us. You could kind of say that we've been better than Manchester United over that period, because we've finished above Manchester United in the league every single season since Sir Alex Ferguson left. We've won the same amount of trophies, 3 each. Let's not include the Community Shield.
No, we don't do that.
No, so let's look at the trophies won. I know that Manchester United won the Europa League, which, you know, back in the day was a prestigious trophy when that was the UEFA Cup. But we've won 3 trophies each. So there is an argument to say that there's not a lot between Arsenal and Manchester United over the last 4 years. Will Alexis win the league in his 4.5 years at Manchester United? In my opinion, I don't think he will. Will he win the Champions League in his 4.5 years at Manchester United? I don't think he will. I feel that going to Manchester City, Man City right now are what Manchester United were when Robin van Persie left Arsenal. Robin van Persie went to Manchester United, and although that hurt so much, we knew that he was going to the best club in the country, who had the best manager in the country. You'd lost the league the season before to Man City on goal difference.
Yeah, yeah.
So Alex Ferguson said, right, we've lost on goal difference. There's not a lot between us. What do we do about it? I know, let's go and get the best striker in the Premier League right now, which was Robin van Persie. And he won you the league. When you look back on it, you can sit there as an Arsenal fan and say, you know what, it's justified. Because like I said, he left to the biggest club in the league. He left to the best manager in the league. But has Alexis Sanchez moved to the best club in the league? No. Has he moved to the best manager in the league? No. Do I feel that he's only left because of money? 100%.
I get that. I totally get that. And it's difficult because my next question is going to be talking about Alexis Sanchez and the positives, because we will get a happy Alexis Sanchez. And I agree, he's not had a great season this year. And I know that from not watching him. I know that from fantasy football because I normally have him. And this year I got rid of him very, very quickly. But in relation to, I mean, obviously as a United fan, ecstatic that he's chosen us. We've got a rivalry with Man City that, to be honest with you, I want to talk about the Arsenal rivalry in a bit, but it's not one I respect. I think you know, you look at the press and how they're always talking about United or Arsenal. I think United and Arsenal are the big press topics always, and have been for a long time, especially in the Sky era. Man City breaking records, Pep Guardiola the best manager in the world, the best footballing team in the world. And I was really interested. It's an empty club. It's an oil tanker. It's money. That's what it is. Alexis Sanchez himself said when Mourinho was in, there was no other choice. Now again, I accept, you know, it's Arsenal fans call him salty, whatever. The reality is, I relate it to if it was Martial going the other way, I'd be very, very angry about it, and of course I would say things. But Man City, I personally think it was easy for him to go Man City. He's played for Pep before. It's a ready-made Premier League title which he's never got. I actually respect him for coming to United because it's not about money. It's not about money because City were offering more or less the same. And we've got a very good deal, which we're going to talk about, a swap deal for Mkhitaryan. I do want to talk about Mkhitaryan because I know a load of United fans will want to do that. But I think he's actually made a braver decision. I think he's probably come to United because it's a bigger club. I think Arsenal's a bigger club than Man City, by the way. And I think it's a challenge. Manchester United is a challenge. And that number 7 shirt is probably a pull. And if he did support us as a kid, it's a pull. But I disagree. I mean, I think United win the title next year. And maybe that's blindness as a United fan, but I think we're going in that direction. I think you're right. I think Arsenal and United have been very close. But this year, I mean, we're going to talk about Aubameyang as well. But Arsenal, I'm not worried because I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I do look at it and think they're cut adrift. We went through the Europa League last year. That's your best chance. But they've got to start doing things differently because Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool now, United, City are starting to pull away. But I personally think the Sanchez decision is a brave one because he had a ready-made Premier League title there around his neck, and maybe he thought, I've not earned that. But many footballers would have took that choice. But I can see why. I can see why you would say that. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just giving a United point of view.
No, that's fine. I'd never change my mind on that. I just think that you listen to a lot of the stories, and a lot of the stories are coming out from people with a lot of credibility behind them that are basically saying, you know, Man City had everything all in place. It was agreed,
Yeah,
even
I'm
to
stunned,
come, the whole jet before the season was started, they had an agreement. It was then decided, right, we'll do it in January. But obviously there will be a different fee to give to Arsenal, so we'll have to negotiate that. Apparently Alexis and his agent, you know, got a call from Manchester United basically saying, look, you know, can we have a chat? Manchester United offered what they did. And Alexis and his agent have gone back to Man City and said, well, sorry, lads, but Man United are offering this, so are you going to match it? Man City, I'll tell you, I think that what Manchester City did as well was quite courageous of them, because it isn't like they couldn't match what Manchester United paid for Alexis. They could have matched every single aspect of what Manchester United did, apart from the trophies, in terms of how many you've won, and the size of the club, in terms of being the biggest in England. And people need to start understanding the difference between bigger and better.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and that's the thing. Right now, Manchester City are better than anyone in the Premier League.
Yeah,
but they're not the biggest.
No.
So people need to understand the two differences. But, you know, Man United come in there, they chance their arm. They put in there a ridiculous offer that couldn't be refused. We had, as a club, we had no way of stopping it because of the situation we put ourselves in. If Alexis had 3 years left on his contract, I've no doubt we wouldn't have sold him to Manchester United.
No,
we'd have turned around. You know, we would have turned around. You would have had to be paying
100 million
more than what Barcelona paid for Coutinho. You know, and then you're talking figures where you kind of got to go, oh, maybe we can't turn that down, 130, 40, 50 million or whatever. But we had no room to negotiate. We had to just sit back and, you know, bend over while we got our pants pulled down. Again,
I think you've actually, you know what, we had this all week because I was saying, because as I've said, Robbie messaged me last Sunday and said he's coming to United, and we've had it all week. Oh, your source is crap, because I wouldn't say who it was till it was done. And we had people saying, oh, you know, he's not going to come to United. Arsenal are holding all the cards. And I said, you know what, the fact that Arsenal are getting Mkhitaryan out of this, they lose him for nothing in 4 months' time. I think Arsenal, I mean, obviously it's not the anti-press United crap that we're going to give you 50 million in Mkhitaryan. It's a straight swap. And I think that's a relatively good deal for Arsenal, because Mkhitaryan in the current market is probably worth anywhere between 30 and 40 million. So that's what you're getting for someone who's got 4 months left on his contract. But
yeah,
tell me about him. I mean, you watch him every week. I know this is difficult, but United fans will want to hear it, because we've got Martial on the left, we've got Lukaku up front. Sanchez, a lot of people are saying put him on the right, that's where he plays, that's where he'd be good, but he doesn't really play that predominantly for Arsenal. Tell us about what he's done for Arsenal in the last 3 years, where you think he's best at.
Alexis has actually been at his best and most prolific playing up front for Arsenal. That's where he scored the majority of his goals last season. When he moved to that role, we kind of used him as you know, someone to fill the void, because we hadn't gone out and bought a striker. And it actually turned out. And I know Alexis has recently said that he enjoys playing up front more. When he does go out wide, he spends a lot of his time on the left. So the right-hand side, I haven't seen him a lot of times at Arsenal on the right-hand side. And he's not, Alexis is not the type of player that's going to get down to the byline and put crosses in the box. So Lukaku can rule that one out straight away. He is one of these. Well, if there's one thing Lukaku can do, it is head a ball. He just can't control it. But,
we can't cross, though, unfortunately. We've got no one to do
it. and the thing is, if Alexis plays on the left-hand side, he has a habit of coming inside, and he puts all these little chip balls into the box. So you could get some joy from that. But, yeah, like I said, for me, his favourite position's up front. But there's no way he's going to take Lukaku's place, because Jose's outlaid so much money on him.
Where would you put him then? I know it's difficult because you've just sold him to us, but where number 10 right side? I mean, we've got Martial on the left. No one wants him moving out. So.
On the bench,
especially when you come to our place.
Yeah, stick him on the bench. You know, put him anywhere ahead of Lingard so I can watch that little prick sulk on the bench. Can't stand Lingard. I really can't. I hope we sign Aubameyang, and I hope Aubameyang scores at Old Trafford and Millie rocks and drop kicks Lingard in the face.
God.
Be the best celebration ever. I'll absolutely love that. I'd even pay his fine for him getting sent off if he did that. But no, I don't know. I don't know what Manchester United are going to do. It's, you know, ironically, Martial started to play really well lately. I rate Martial. I really do.
He's our best player, to be fair. He is.
You know, when there was talk of there being a swap deal, I was like, yeah, swap with him. That's it. I'll take that all day long. I'll drive Alexis to Manchester for you. Because, you know, you look at Martial, you look at his age, he's nowhere near hit where he can. Whereas I feel with Alexis, he's reached his ceiling point because he's 29 years old. You know what he can do. He's never going to go past that, you know, that height. Whereas Martial's got so much more room to improve and be truly a world-class player.
Sanchez is better now, but I wouldn't swap Martial for Sanchez, never in a million years. I know some people would, but I wouldn't.
It's an interesting one because, you know, Mourinho's already upset Martial already with the fact that he took his shirt number off him and gave that to Ibrahimovic initially. And, you know, Martial even come out and said that he wasn't too happy about that because, you know, with this day and age, it's all about branding. And Martial wants to be number 9. So is Mourinho the type of man to put Martial on the bench for Alexis? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, well, we spoke about that last night, and you know, there's no point signing Sanchez if you put Martial on the bench. If you add Sanchez to Martial and Pogba, you've got a decent side. But let's talk a bit about Mkhitaryan, because I know there's a lot of United fans who are not happy he's going to United. He's been atrocious this season for United, absolutely atrocious. Last 2 games subbed off. So the positive about Mkhitaryan is he will improve at Arsenal, because the only way is up. He couldn't try to be worse if he wanted to. His confidence is on the floor. I think he is a confidence player. What's your feeling about the Mkhitaryan deal?
When I first heard we were swapping with Mkhitaryan, it was just kind of, oh, mate, we're getting absolutely mugged right off here. And then you kind of sit down, you think about it properly. A year and a half ago, Mkhitaryan was one of the most sought-after creative midfielders in the country. He was on absolute fire at Borussia Dortmund. I think the season before something, he had like 40-something assists.
Top assister in Europe he was when we bought him.
He was unbelievable. And I remember when Manchester United signed him, fans were over the moon.
Yeah.
He was undoubted, you know, straight away he was getting compared to Mesut Ozil. He started this season really, really well, scoring goals and whatnot. And it looked like maybe, you know, he was one of them that needed that first season to get out of the way to kick on in the Premier League sort of thing. And then it's just kind of not gone right for him. I just, personally, you don't become a bad player overnight. He's a quality player. But the Manchester United fans that I've spoken to that have said to me that they're absolutely gutted to lose him also have said that they feel that he will suit Arsenal's system perfectly. And you know, Mourinho wants his players to track back. He wants them to defend. He wants them to, you know, work horses sort of thing. Mkhitaryan's not that type of player. Whereas at Arsenal, well, I don't think we've even teach defending. So I think most of our centre-backs spend most of their time on the halfway line. So Mkhitaryan have a fun time there. So if we can get the same kind of form out of him that he had at Borussia Dortmund, we sign Aubameyang, and them two hit it off like they did when they were at Dortmund as well, then we could end up sitting here in a year's time saying, you know what, we had the better end of the deal. You know what? Time will tell.
We'll bring Aubameyang into it, because you were saying just before we went live, you think you're going to get him. I've got to say, totally honest, I've spoken about him on this channel over the last 3 years. I'd love to have seen him at United. I'm not saying he's going to be a success, but I would have took him at United. He runs the line. He's tall. He's quick. He's a good finisher. He's played with Mkhitaryan before. If you get Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan and they do well at Arsenal and Sanchez does well at United, then everyone's a winner. Because, you know, Mkhitaryan had to leave United. I think the great thing about what we've done is his time was up. It was ruthless, but his time was up. And he could go... The problem with Mkhitaryan, and I know a lot of people will stick up for you on this because they love him, he's weak. He's weak for Mourinho. Mourinho wants running through brick wall players, tracking back, like you say. That's not him. I think Wenger won't get him to do that, and I think Wenger will probably put an arm around his shoulder and play him every week and not drop him and not take him at half time. He will definitely improve at Arsenal. I can guarantee that. I just don't know. We had Kagawa as well. I don't know whether he doesn't suit the Premier League because it's too physical for him, or he just didn't suit Mourinho. One of those two we'll find out in the next few months. But Aubameyang's interesting.
Yeah, it's like you said, we will find out very soon whether it was Mourinho or the Premier League. In many respects, we're not really losing anything because we've not paid for him. Like I said, in 3 months' time, Alexis was worth nothing. Not a single pound. He was worth nothing. So we've kind of got ourselves a player and got ourselves out of a bad situation that we put ourselves in. And if it doesn't go to plan, then we can't sit there and go, we spent 60, 70 odd million on this player and he's flopped, and, we can kind of move on from it. But if it works out, we could look back on it and go, bloody hell, what a piece of business that was. And with Aubameyang, I don't want to speak too soon because I'm an Arsenal fan and I know that we've been in these situations before, but things do look very, very different at the club. Arsene Wenger has had full control of transfers and everything that goes on at the club. It's the one thing that pisses the fans off the most because he should never be involved in, the final details of players signing and stuff like that. The reason why we were so successful in the early years under Arsene Wenger was because we had David Dein. Now, when Arsene Wenger needed a player, he said, David, this is the player I want, go get him. Arsene went and managed the team. David Dein went and gone and done, the transfers and the signing. There was no, Arsene now, he's like, well, they valued him at this much. I think he's only worth, nah, we'll pull out of that one. It's like now control is starting to be taken back from Arsene Wenger by Ivan Gazidis, by the likes of Sven Mislintat that we brought in, Huss Fahy that we brought from Team Sky, the guy that we brought in from Barcelona as well. He's the guy that does all the initial negotiations with contracts, and he's the one that dealt with the whole Neymar contracts and stuff like that. And he comes really highly regarded. And these are the people that are involved in transfers right now. We've all seen the pictures over the last 24 hours of Gazidis and Fahy and Mislintat over in Dortmund. And as an Arsenal fan, that's very telling, because it shows that the power's being taken away from Arsene Wenger. While Arsene Wenger's still in England and dealing with the team and what goes on the pitch, these guys are going out there and doing their job. They are doing what they were brought into the club to do, which is to make signings and to bring the best players to the club. So it does look different, but until I see Aubameyang holding the shirt up, I'm going to just try and hold it in a little bit. But if we lose Alexis and get Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, I think it's been a very, very good window for us. And we've got ourselves out of a really deep hole somehow.
I mean, it's been a fantastic one for United. We were talking as well before we came on air, because I do want to talk a little bit about Ozil, but you obviously you get petals on Twitter, I do as well, and obviously there's that video going around of you saying he wouldn't sign, which was, how long ago was that?
It was about a year ago now. Quite simply, I explained it on Arsenal Fan TV last week. Some people, they like to leave certain things out, or they like to edit certain pieces out. They're very much like tabloid newspapers. I was approached by another Manchester United fan channel. The season hadn't even finished. Remember that. It was March. The season hadn't even finished. They came to me and said, look, what do you think about, the summer transfers and everything else? Obviously, you haven't signed Alexis to a new contract. Do you think that he could go to Manchester United? And I turned around and I said to him, no chance, mate. I said, you've got Man City, you've got Borussia Dortmund, you've got PSG. Manchester United are not getting him. If you would have asked any ardent Manchester United fan, March 2017, will you get Alexis Sanchez? They would have laughed at you. If you would have asked a Man United fan 2 weeks ago, will you get Alexis Sanchez? They would have laughed at you. So he said to me, can you do a little clip just giving your thoughts on Alexis coming to Manchester United in the summer then. So I said, yeah, no problem, mate. So I did it, said that I'd rather pour bleach down my throat while knocking one out, or watching Mourinho knock one out, or something like that. Something, yeah, along them lines. And yeah, quote me on it. And everything I said in that video, I was correct. Alexis Sanchez did not sign for Manchester United in the summer of 2017. I was 100% right. I also done a video in the summer of 2017 saying that Alexis would stay at Arsenal during the window and he wouldn't go to Manchester City. Quote me on it. I was 100% correct. The only time I've been actually wrong was a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago, something like that, when I first heard Manchester United were rumoured to be in for Alexis. I put a tweet up saying, you know, I'm laughing at Man United fans thinking that they're going to get Alexis Sanchez, because I genuinely didn't think that was going to happen. And like I said, if you would have asked any Manchester United fan 2 weeks ago, will you get Alexis, they would have turned around and said, no chance. No chance.
Someone was saying it a week ago, trust me.
Yeah, so, you know, people were even saying it the last couple of days, something that happened. You know, maybe Atom and Humber would get kidnapped and he wouldn't go through with the move or something. I don't know, maybe the dogs would choke on their pedigree chum. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. We've got to get over it as Arsenal fans. We've got Mkhitaryan. If it goes right, then we could look upon this, you know, transfer window as a significant change in the history of Arsenal. Or we can sit there in 6, 7, 8, however many months and go, fuck me, it's Van Persie all over again. But time will tell.
I did a video talking about Alexis Sanchez, why he picked Manchester United over Man City, and they clipped it, the one little bit where I said Andy will get more Twitter followers as a joke, and that went bloody viral everywhere. So I know it happens. But Mesut Ozil, we spoke about him a little bit at the start. To be honest with you, he has been fantastic this year. I was really impressed with him at the Emirates when we went there and beat you in November. But he is in a similar situation. I have got no source on this one at all. I just feel that Manchester United might have a pop at trying to get him. You were obviously close to the club. You're Ozil to Manchester United. Do you want to do a little video clip now and say never, you'll drink bleach? Or
mate, listen, don't even try that one. The thing is that, you know what?
You think he'll sign a new contract though?
I do think he will sign a contract. This might come back and bite me in the arse. It may do, but I just think there's a difference between the Sanchez and the Ozil thing. I genuinely think that Mesut Ozil's happy in London. I genuinely think that he's happy at Arsenal. And if he's looking at what we're doing behind the scenes, like I told you, there's things going on behind the scenes right now which are very exciting as an Arsenal fan. And some people will be blind to it. People that are not Arsenal fans won't notice it. They'll just think that we're declining and everything. And yes, we are declining on the pitch. Yes, you know, we've got problems and everything else, and we do still need to change our manager. But there are things happening off the pitch that are so promising. And if, you know, Mesut Ozil saying, look, I want to see something before I sign a contract, and then you go back to Mesut Ozil and go, right, there's Mkhitaryan, there's Aubameyang. Are we showing you enough? You know, and that's the thing. And I think what's key as well in the whole Ozil thing is that he's got his new missus. He's getting married in the summer. They've just bought a new house in London. And they're really settled. And, you know, some people will not, you know, will think, you know, it doesn't play a major part in a player's life or anything else. But believe me, the women have a very big say in a player's life nowadays. And if she's happy in London and everything's, you know, there, and I just think that he will. I think that it's key that we get him tied down, him and Jack Wilshere especially. I think Jack's more of a foregone formality, so to speak, because he's publicly came out and said, I want to sign a new contract. Pull it in front of me, I'm going to do it. Jack Wilshere told me that he was going to sign a new contract. All they got to do is pull it in front of him. And the videos on YouTube of him saying that to me. And
I'll be honest with you, DT, I don't want Jack Wilshere, so it's safe. We don't want him. But Ozil, but you're right, you know, it's a last contract for him. I mean, I don't really understand how you... I can't compare Fellaini to Ozil. Please, somebody take Fellaini. But he's in a similar situation. And the reality is, surely you can't afford to pay him the wages that he can go and get for free in the summer. That's the thing, isn't it? It's whether he's tempted by a 20 million signing on fee. It's like, you can't compete with that.
The thing that I heard, there's a few things that I've heard from behind the scenes, and it's that Arsenal were putting all their eggs into the baskets of Alexis and Mesut Ozil. And the rumours are that they were offering around about the £300,000 to £350,000 a week mark for the pair of them. Now that's each.
Yeah.
What losing Alexis, what that's done and enabled Arsenal to do is to put more eggs into the Mesut Ozil basket, so that they can give him more of what he wants. Also, again, things that might not sound relevant to you or me or any other fan, is the number 10 shirt at Arsenal, because that's Mesut Ozil's branding. Everything is M10. Even when Podolski finished at Germany and hung up his shirt and gave up the number 10, Mesut Ozil took it straight over.
We've got number 10 free in the summer.
Mate, you can just piss off. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he's so yeah, there's that situation. And then also I'm hearing that our sponsorship with Puma's about to finish and we're about to move over to Adidas. And that could be a massive thing with Mesut Ozil, because along with Pogba, they're the two biggest ambassadors of Adidas.
Yeah, we're sponsored by Adidas.
Yeah, so, but you might change. Who knows?
I'm going to ask you a few questions because we've had a few people who've made some chat. So Nicholas Anderson says, with Mkhitaryan arriving and potentially Aubameyang, how exciting is that prospect of them linking up again for you? I.e., do you think they can replicate it in the Premier League? We were speaking about, you know, leading assist maker and that. I heard they didn't get on that well, but maybe it wasn't those two. There was two Dortmund players who didn't get on that well. And I thought it was Mickey and it might have been Kagawa and Aubameyang actually.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't them two. Even yesterday, Aubameyang wished Mkhitaryan happy birthday on Twitter and whatnot. And you know, when Mkhitaryan left to go to Manchester United, Aubameyang tweeted him that, you know, good luck for the future and, you know, my friend and all this and that. So yeah, I don't think the disagreements were between the pair of them. But Aubameyang, in terms of when you look at him, in terms of his body shape and the way he moves and the way he runs, it's very Thierry Henry-like. Will he be another Thierry Henry? I think Thierry Henry's a freak and there will never be another Thierry Henry. But if he can hit the ground running and score the goals like he does in Germany, then he will get bag full of chances at Arsenal. The one thing we do is create a lot of chances. And the one problem we've had is not finishing them. And you look at the prospect of Aubameyang and Lacazette and Ozil and Mkhitaryan, that's one of the best front fours in the Premier League. It's right up there for me. It's just a shame that we've probably got one of the worst back threes in the Premier League. So, but I'm excited about it, definitely.
Matthew McFadden has made a contribution as well. Similar sort of question. He says, who do you see being Sanchez's replacement? Will it be Aubameyang? Well, he mentions a young Arsenal guy called Reiss Nelson.
Yeah, Reiss, he's got the future ahead of him, but he needs time. And I think the next year or so will be the big test for him. But I feel that Mkhitaryan's going to be more of a Theo Walcott replacement. You know, Walcott / Welbeck, Iwobi, even though them two haven't gone. And I think that Aubameyang will be more of the Alexis replacement, because he will be playing more on that side sort of thing as well. And, you know, like I said, when you look at it, it doesn't, you know, Mkhitaryan and Alexis, it doesn't grab you as a replacement. But as an Arsenal fan, if you're going, all right, Sanchez is gone, you're bringing in Aubameyang, that grabs you. That gets you going, all right, yeah, it's going to hurt for a while. And yeah, it won't be nice seeing him in a Man United shirt, but yeah, let's move on. Come on, let's go.
And I think they had to do that, didn't they, really? Because I think there would have been major scenes if they hadn't.
Yeah.
Brendan Jules made a good point. He says, I actually rate these two clubs. They're both run by money they've generated, and Fan Channel's doing stuff together, which is good, which it is. But I did want to bring that in. I'm old enough to remember all of the Premier League and all the rivalries Manchester United have had, and without question, the Arsenal United rivalry was the best. It was the hardest, and it was the best. And it wasn't about money, and I think United and Arsenal are having to sort of dip into that. Certainly United are having to spend some of the vast amounts of money we've got that we generate ourselves. Arsenal, most expensive ticket in town, they've got a lot of money. Maybe they don't spend as much as you would like, but how do you think we ever will see? I certainly think United are going to be up there in the next few years. Do you think Arsenal can get back there? Because if I had a choice between the rivalries, I quite liked the Arsenal one. It actually meant something. I don't ever want the Liverpool one because I hate Liverpool. I don't want City. Chelsea's is fake. And so I'd like to see an Arsenal-United rivalry, but Wenger's had his day, hasn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what, right? The best way for me, the biggest rivalry for me as an Arsenal fan is Tottenham, because they're my local rivals and I've been brought up to hate them.
It's like Liverpool with us, really.
Yeah, but, the difference is that Liverpool can still throw trophies back at Manchester United, Champions Leagues and whatnot. Tottenham can't throw anything at us. All they can throw at us is that they finished above us once in 21 years. So, that rivalry is just more off the pitch than on it, in that sense. The rivalry between Arsenal and Manchester United, this is why I hate Man United so much, because before that rivalry come along, I never really thought of Manchester United like that. Never really, because people need to remember this as well, is that before Sir Alex Ferguson come along, Arsenal were a bigger club than Manchester United because they had won more trophies than Manchester United. I think we were the same league titles as each other at the time. I think we was on about 7 each or something like that. And then Ferguson ended up winning about 13, didn't he, or something? And won a couple of Champions Leagues and stuff like that. So there was no gaps between Arsenal and Manchester United from, the early 90s and stuff like that when Sir Alex took over and stuff. So, but then Ferguson started getting his own way. You won that first league title. I still remember Steve Bruce, I think it was against Sheffield Wednesday when he made that header in injury time, Fergie time. And then Ferguson was jumping on the pitch with Brian Kidd and stuff like that. And you thought, Jesus Christ, this team's going to, be what Liverpool were in the 70s and 80s. Oh, no. And then Wenger came along. And, the rivalry was just mad. I think Ferguson started the rivalry, to be honest, because he was making comments about Wenger and coming from Japan. And, he doesn't really know the league and everything else. And
it was a proper rivalry.
There was
it's like Keane and Vieira, and I love that. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Well, this is the thing. I was at the original Battle of Old Trafford in 1991. Nigel Winterburn went into a sliding tackle on.
Was this points deduction, wasn't it?
Yes, on Brian McClare and Dennis Irwin. And I remember Brian McClare and Dennis Irwin kicking lumps out of Winterburn on the floor, and the likes of Rocky Rocastle, Mickey Thomas, and God knows what, and every other person known to man just went steaming in, and it was just a free-for-all. Arsenal got deducted 2 points. Manchester United got deducted 1. We got absolutely stitched up, but we still won the league that year. We won the league by about 7 points, even though we were deducted 2. We'd lost 1 game all season against Chelsea. We'd conceded 18 goals in the whole league campaign, and that was a point where we was thinking, oi, maybe we could be the team that dominates. And then obviously things didn't go right for George Graham after that, and he got caught up in the bung scandal, and he ended up leaving, and then we had to put up with Bruce Rioch for a year.
Jensen and what was his name, Schwartz. You bored your way to a UEFA Cup, didn't you? I remember that. I used to watch it on a Thursday night, 1-0.
It was Stefan Schwartz and Johnny Jensen.
Boring, weren't you? Good defence, though. Good defence.
Yeah, amazing defence. And, we won the Cup Winners' Cup, beating Parma. And at that time, Parma had half of the Italian team. They were regarded as possibly one of the best teams in Europe. They had Thomas Brolin, Tino Asprilla, Gianfranco Zola. They battered us for 90 minutes. Battered us. and we scored through Alan Smith, and we just defended. Very Jose Mourinho like now. We just defended for our dear life, and we won. And then a year later, we lost to Real Zaragoza in the final. Naeem from the halfway line.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Ball and Seaman in the net.
Yes. So, but, you know, and then obviously once Wenger come along, and then there was the rivalries. And then I remember the first time I really felt the rivalry with Manchester United was when you guys were 12 to 14 points ahead of us or something. And Fergie got played at his own mind games by Wenger. And we were slowly but surely just ticking off points without you lot realising. And then we came to Old Trafford, and Mark Overmars scored the winning goal, and we beat you 1-0. And from that moment on,
98.
Yes, we went on to win the double.
Did his knee, didn't he?
Was it? Yeah, I'm trying to think which. Yeah, it was the first one, and then we won the league at Old Trafford a few years after that, didn't we?
Yeah, I remember that was Wiltord, wasn't it?
Wiltord scored that one. So, but that first one was the first time when I really felt the rivalry, because you know,
99 was ridiculously close. I mean, I loved it, but the title was close. They had the FA Cup where we beat you with 10 men, and obviously you weren't in the Champions League. But it was.
We handed you the treble. I still say that, because if Dennis Bergkamp would have scored that penalty in the 120th minute, extra time. It weren't. It was normal time. Yeah, 90th minute. Dennis Bergkamp. If you were to ask any Arsenal fan back then, who would you want on the penalty spot in the last minute? It was the Iceman, Dennis Bergkamp. And I just, and that's, you know, the treble would have gone. There would have been no treble. Man United would have just won the double. But then you can flip that around, and you can say that our invincibles, if Ruud van Nistelrooy would have put the penalty in the back of the net, we would never have been invincible. So,
but I think that's just very quickly as well. I think that's where the press have really annoyed me this season with this Man City are the best Premier League side ever. And I know they're doing it to try and make it interesting, but I mean, these are experienced journalists when we're just fan channels. And you know, we've just had chats there about teams from 20 years ago, and you know, the Invincibles shit all over this City side. So does the Chelsea 05 side, and so does the United 99 and 08 side. And that does well. That's why I think fan channels are great, because you get real fan opinion and people who know about the club rather than sensational tosh like that.
Yeah, that's half of the problem, and this is why I see what gets put in the media, and this is why I lose my temper with so many of them, and I call them out on Twitter and stuff, because I hear some of the stuff they say, and they don't know what it's like to be a real fan. They have no idea. They get given their tickets to matches. They go and sit in their lovely little cushy, rooms before a game where they've got all access to, plug sockets for their computers and free food and free drink. And then they got a nice, lovely little seat with their little table for the game. And they wouldn't understand what it's like to be a real fan. They wouldn't understand what it's like to spend the kind of money that we do as fans. And they won't understand what it feels like to have real pain. And some people won't get it. Some people won't know. I'm gutted we've lost Alexis. I'm absolutely gutted. People know I'm gutted. But I'm half of the blame is Arsene Wenger's. Well, I'd say 70-80% of it's Arsene Wenger's and the club. And the rest is, I feel really let down by Alexis. Really, really let down by him. I feel that my opinion is, as I said, he's gone for money. And I just feel let down because of the way he's played the last 6 months, the way he's acted as a person, the way he's treated us as fans. And then, he goes and he starts, posting things up about how he respects us so much. Fuck off, mate. If you respected us, you wouldn't have been carrying on the way that you've been carrying on. And I understand as well that players are very much told what to say now within the media. There's always someone standing behind them. You've got to say this, you've got to say that. And I look at what Alexis has come out and said, that it's always been his dream and all this kind of stuff. I saw the Manchester United badge and hair stood up on my arms. Look, the reality is, Alexis, is that 4 months ago, you were basically sitting outside the Etihad, nearly a Manchester City player. So don't add insult to injury by saying that you've always wanted to play to Manchester United. I understand, like I said, that they're getting told what to say because as a Man United fan, you're loving it. yes, Alexis, lovely little man. Look at him. Yeah, loves Man United. It's the little boy inside him all over again and all that shit. But as
He
an
did say
Arsenal
it when he was
fan,
at Udinese, though. He did say it in 2010. And,
yeah,
as I said, Mkhitaryan, in fairness, did say the same about Arsenal. So
yeah, he did in 2009. But like I said, the thing with Alexis, you know, is that he was nearly a Manchester United player. That's the thing I'm getting at. So all this about Manchester United, listen, I've no doubt in my mind that if Manchester City would have matched what Manchester United did, he would have still gone to Manchester City.
I don't agree with you on that, but we agree to disagree. I think.
Yeah, of course.
I do think he's chosen the tougher challenge, the harder route, and I respect him for that. But the proof will be in the pudding.
Yes.
I just want to say, because I took a note down, it's totally off topic, but Jimmy Armfield died today at 82 years of age. Really, really, such a distinct voice. And he also always spoke so glowingly about Duncan Edwards, who I always have next to me there, and the Busby Babes. So a tragic loss. A World Cup winner as well. But in a modern day, where we're talking about, I agree, footballers are mercenaries. Most Man United players are mercenaries. They are. That's the modern game. Doesn't mean we don't love football, but he's a proper great and a real sad loss for the game.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I said, when, if people can look back in the history books or watch old videos and stuff, then you see what he was like when he was playing down at Blackpool and stuff. And, we've lost a lot of, the game has changed. And I understand that with social media and everything else, look at how influential we are with some people now with fan channels and stuff like that. But, never forget, what football used to be. Because if it wasn't for these players and it wasn't for the history of football, we wouldn't be here today. Manchester United would not be who they are without the Busby Babes. Arsenal would not be who they are without Herbert Chapman. Liverpool would not be who they are without... sounds really bad that I forgot his name, Shankly and that.
Man City wouldn't be what they are without the oil in 2008.
I knew you was going to get that one in. Yeah, but at the end of the day, big clubs, the three biggest clubs in England are Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal. That's a simple fact. And, we can never disrespect the history. We can never forget these old players and what they've actually done for our clubs. Because like I said, without them, we wouldn't be sitting now. We wouldn't be.
Smash a like on the video, everyone. There's a lot of people watching. I knew there would be. It's a very, very big night. It's a statement signing for United. It is a big statement signing. I agree with what DT said, and I've said it a few times. 2 weeks ago, we weren't doing this deal. I don't know why it's changed. That number 7 shirt was for somebody else. We've kept it vacant for a year. Something changed in the last 2 weeks that made United go for Sanchez. Maybe Griezmann said he won't come in. I don't know. But it's a massive statement, and I look forward to the future with him. And I do wish Mkhitaryan all the best. And to be honest, I think the Premier League is a better league with Arsenal battling United. I'd kick City out of the league straight away. I'd love something to come out tomorrow about bungs or something. Kick them out of the league, and then everyone can get back to normal. But I don't think we're going to get that lucky.
Nah, don't think so. No. But,
subscribe to the United Stand if you're new. But obviously, most people will know who you are, DT. But tell them where they can find you anyway, because you do have your own channel as well. Yeah,
they probably know where my Twitter page is because they've been sending me gifts of Jesse Lingard for about 3 fucking months. And Mr. DT AFC, Mr. DT on YouTube, and Mr. DT AFC on Instagram and Facebook as well. So head on over there, share your pictures of Jesse Lingard and Alexis Sanchez, the absolute waste man. And let the banter continue, and hopefully the rivalry will kick on again very soon.
Really appreciated having you on. Really enjoyed it, and it has whizzed by, which is always a testament. I mean, we could have spoke for a lot longer than that, but thanks everybody for watching, and thanks DT for coming on.
No worries, mate.
We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 AM with the Transfer Daily Show, and then 8 o'clock tomorrow night we'll probably do the Skype show because we've moved it because of DT coming on and Alexis signing. So it's done at last. It's been a long week, but it's done at last. Get some rest. You don't have to keep checking Twitter every 5 minutes now. Turn your notifications off. United will go back to dabbing Lingard and Pogba. Sanchez is signed. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers for coming on, pal. Really enjoyed that.
No worries, mate. Yeah, that was all right. It was... Do you know what? when you get a chance to sit down with